Hello students, how are you today? I wish everybody were delighted to continue our lesson. This time we're talking about finite and non-finite verbs. Part 2. Why? Because this time we're talking about adverbial clauses, and in part 1 we talk about reducing adjective clauses. Let's start with the rules directly. Number 1. The subject of the adverbial clause must be the same as the subject of the main clause. Number 2. Omit the subject of the adverbial clause. Number 3. If the adverbial clause contains to be, omit the to be. Or to be can be changed into being if the clause indicates cause and effect. Number 4. If the adverbial clause does not contain to be, change the verb into verb ing. Number 5. Keep the conjunctions except the cause and effect conjunctions. Cause and effect conjunctions must be deleted. For example, because, as, since. Number 6. If when and while mean the same time, they can be omitted. Number 7. Not all adverbial clauses can be reduced in both passive and active sentences. In active sentences, the ones that can be changed into phrase are after, before, since, while, if, unless, whether, although, and though. In passive sentences, once, until, when, whenever, if, unless, whether, although, though, where, wherever, as. Number 8. Having plus past participle is used to show reason or earlier action. Let's continue with the application of the rules in sample sentences. Look at the sample sentence. Students must adapt to the campus environment as soon as possible. They study in another country. These two sentences have the same subject, which are students and they. So students and they actually are the same person. Therefore, we can change it into a clause. Students must adapt to the campus environment as soon as possible when they study in another country. In this sentence, the subclause when they study in another country can be reduced into a phrase when studying in another country. So we have students must adapt to the campus environment as soon as possible when studying in another country. And we can also move the phrase to the beginning of the sentence. When studying in another country, students must adapt to the campus environment as soon as possible. Why? Because adverbial phrase is better put at the beginning of the sentence so that it is nearer to the subject, which is explained by the phrase. And then we can also shorten the phrase into studying in another country, students must adapt to the campus environment as soon as possible, because when and while can be omitted if they mean the same time. Now let's continue with another application of the rules. If the adverbial clause contains to be, omit the to be, because to be can be changed into being if the clause indicates cause and effect. Look at the example. The man must make sure that all the people in the area wear masks outside their houses. He is the leader of the area. We can use clause so that we can combine the two sentences into the man must make sure that all the people in the area wear masks outside their houses because he is the leader of the area. And we can reduce this clause into phrase and the sentence will become the leader of the area. The man must make sure that all the people in the area wear masks outside their houses. Also, we can use being in the phrase, so it will become being the leader of the area, the man must make sure that all the people in the area wear masks outside their houses. We use being here because the phrase indicates cause and effect. Let's continue with the application of other rules. Rule number 4, if the adverbial clause does not contain to be, change the verb into verb ing. Rule number 5, keep the conjunctions except the cause and effect conjunctions. Cause and effect conjunctions must be deleted. For example, because, as, since. Let's continue with a sample sentence. The student could answer the questions without difficulty. He attended all the lessons faithfully. These two sentences can be combined into one sentence using clause. The student could answer the questions without difficulty because he attended all the lessons faithfully. However, when changing this clause or when reducing this clause into phrase, we cannot use the connector. Because attending all the lessons faithfully, the student could answer the question without difficulty. We cannot use because in this phrase. Why? Because the connector is a cause and effect conjunctions. But we can change it into attending all the lessons faithfully, the student could answer the questions without difficulty. Here, we have taken the because away. And then, we can also use having attended all the lessons faithfully, the student could answer the question without difficulty. In this sentence, we use having plus root 3 in order to indicate reasons. Now let's see the application of another rule. Rule number 7. Not all adverbial clauses can be reduced in both passive or active sentences. In active sentences, we use after, before, since, while, if, unless, whether, although, though. In passive sentences, we use once, until, when, whenever, if, unless, whether, although, though, where, wherever, as. For example, once is used only in passive clause. Therefore, we can use it in the sentence, once the ticket is paid, it cannot be returned. Is paid indicates that the sentence is passive. Therefore, we can change it or we can reduce it into phrase, once paid, the ticket cannot be returned. However, in the next sentence, once she paid the promo ticket, she could watch different movies in a week. She paid is an active sentence. Therefore, we cannot change it into a phrase or we cannot reduce the clause into a phrase. Let's look at another sample. Before is used for active sentences. It cannot be used for passive sentences. For example, the officer returned the car to the garage before he went home. He went home indicates an active sentence, and therefore we can change it into a phrase, the officer returned the car to the garage before going home. Or we can put the phrase at the beginning of the sentence, then we can have, before going home, the officer returned the car to the garage. However, in another sentence, the car could not start before it was serviced. It was serviced is a passive sentence. Therefore, we cannot change it into a phrase because we cannot use before serviced, which is illegal. Exercise. Combine the sentences into one sentence using a clause and change the clause into a phrase. Number 1. Home learning programs still require some getting used to by students. The programs are highly beneficial and a good alternative to school as schools are closed. Number 2. Kimia Pharma Diagnostica President Director Adifadila Bulkini contacted the alleged victim. He said that the company had agreed to bring the case to court. Number 3. Moseni performs for all female audiences. Moseni sings solo. Let's check the answers. Home learning programs still require some getting used to by students. Their programs are highly beneficial and a good alternative to school as schools are closed. In a clause sentence, we use home learning programs that require some getting used to by students, although the programs are highly beneficial and a good alternative to school as schools are closed. And this can be reduced into a phrase, although highly beneficial and a good alternative to school as schools are closed, home learning programs still require some getting used to by students. Number 2. Kimia Pharma Diagnostica President Director Adifadila Bulkini contacted the alleged victim. He said the company had agreed to bring the case to court. When we combine the two sentences into clause, Kimia Pharma Diagnostica President Director Adifadila Bulkini, after he had contacted the alleged victim, said the company had agreed to bring the case to court. And then we can change it into a phrase, Kimia Pharma Diagnostica President Director Ade Fadila Bulkini, contacting the alleged victim, said the company had agreed to bring the case to court. Number 3. Mohseni performs for all female audiences. She sings solo. In a clause, we can use when Mohseni performs for all female audiences, she sings solo. And then, if it is reduced into phrase, when performing for all female audiences, Mohseni sings solo. That's all our lesson today. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to always do your best. God bless you.